whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're going to hurt some people.
Whose car are we going to take?
Hello, thank you for joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show live on YouTube. I love our community. We have a great show coming up, and obviously the big news we are going to be starting with, of course, is the decisions coming down from the U.S. Supreme Court, specifically the one to do with affirmative action. We debated this, last month, and I really want to get into where we go now. What do colleges do now? The question I'm going to pose to you is, one, are there other types of admissions that need to go? I'm specifically talking about legacy admissions. Did you know? Apparently, something like 70% of Harvard's legacy applicants, which apparently is still allowed under the Supreme Court, are white. But the Supreme Court had no problem with that. But the question that I really want to, get into is it's two questions. One, they're still allowed to write this essay, right? They're allowed to write an essay where they can talk about race and those sorts of things. Do you think socioeconomic factors will lead to fair admissions? And more importantly, I want your guys' opinion on, did this moment have to come to test whether or not colleges, employers, down the line, really want diversity within their campuses and their corporations? Because at some point, we do need to test it, right? We work towards all these things with an ultimate goal of having diversity and fairness and equity. Now, I ain't saying now's the time. I'm not saying we've reached that point, but we're being thrust into it. And so I want your take on, how do we make it fair? And I'm putting it in quotes because there's been a lot of reaction, and I'll play you some of those clips as well. Of course, there was another Supreme Court decision as well. This had to do with protections for religious rights at work. It was that postal worker who didn't want to work on Sundays. A lower court said, that was fine, that your employer kind of wouldn't accommodate it. This person had quit. And the U.S. Supreme Court said, relook at that. My question is, what constitutes a religion? Can I just say my religion says I can only work Tuesdays and Thursdays? Sorry, you have to accommodate me. Obviously, there's the undue hardship and things like that, but I'll get your guys' take on that. We weren't able to get to this yesterday. There's a proposal to increase juror pay across California. It's a step closer to being a reality. I want, when we talk about this, if anybody has served on a jury, I have never, ever served on a jury. I've gone to jury duty, but I wasn't picked. But I've never done it. So if you have, I want to hear your story. I want to know if you remember the case, which I'm assuming you would. And two, how hard was it to go and be part of a jury? They want to raise juror pay from $15 to $100, which I think is significant, right? I mean, it's better than $15. Costco is cracking down on membership sharing. Weren't we raised to share? And now all of these things, I'm looking at you, Netflix, looking at you, Costco. Now we're not allowed to share. Anybody ever share their Costco membership? Maybe. I've never shared mine. Somebody shared it with me. Now I wouldn't be able to do that, of course. And I have a Costco membership that I pay for, so get off me. Let's see what else. Yosemite, if you're planning on going there, they were packed for the Juneteenth holiday, and we're coming up on a holiday weekend this weekend. So I have some pretty crazy pictures to show you, people that have been trying to get there. As you guys know, next week I will be in Maui for the 4th of July holiday. I will not be doing what this vacationer did and unfortunately died doing in Jamaica. So I'll tell you that story. Jefferson Graham will join us in the second part of the show, and I definitely want his tips and tricks because he does Photo Walks TV on YouTube. Check out his show. I believe he does a live one every Saturday, or he puts up new episodes on Saturdays. But I'm going to get his tips and tricks, not just for taking amazing Hawaiian sunsets, which he's given us, but family photos with my iPhone. The hotel that I'm staying at, they, of course, offer complimentary photography, and then you pay for the prints. And I did a little digging. It was expensive as hell. So hoping I could take some pretty fancy schmancy pictures with my iPhone in addition to my niece bringing her fancy schmancy camera. Airbnb's revenue is collapsing. How many of you are worried about that? And then we have some Hollywood news to round out the show. So before we get to any of that, you guys, can you please click the thumbs up button to show your support of the show? Every single show, just click it once. If you click it twice, it goes away. So click the thumbs up button, even if you're watching it on replay. We absolutely love it. The super chat is live. You guys were really generous yesterday, and we appreciate the generosity of so many of the people that come here every day and watch the show live or even in replay. So you can donate to the super chat with a super sticker and a thanks and a comment, which we do go back and read. Just look for the $sign under the live chat box. And then please consider joining officially our Medorable crew. And become a monthly Patreon subscriber because that keeps this show up and running. We really depend on this monthly money a lot. I cannot overstate how much we depend on our monthly Patreon subscribers. And you can become a subscriber for any amount that you can afford. And if you can afford more, we really appreciate that as well. So just go to theNikkiMedoroShow.com. TheNikkiMedoroShow.com. That's where our Patreon link is. Like I always say, you can find everything at TheNikkiMedoroShow.com. Our PayPal link, the email's on your screen. It's really easy. I make it easy for people to remember. TheNikkiMedoroShow@gmail.com. And then our merch, there's a lot more merch than just this, is found at TheNikkiMedoroShop with a P.com. So that's all the stuff. Now that business is out of the way, how many of you are disappointed by the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling regarding affirmative action? It's odd for us here in California, obviously, because we haven't had affirmative action. When we talked about this recently, remember we were talking about how the CSU system has actually done a better job than the UCs in kind of on their diversity efforts. Okay. So the numbers are much better within the CSU than the UC. So for here in California, I mean, it's not like anything really fundamentally changes, of course, if you want to go to a UC or a CSU. If you want to go outside of this country or outside of this state, obviously it matters. I have a couple of clips to show you. First, this is a reporter with the Associated Press kind of talking about the majority opinion that was written regarding affirmative action. Here we go.
So they both read from their opinions. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the majority opinion for the court, in which he said the Constitution does not permit colleges and universities to use race when they determine how to fill their incoming classes. The Supreme Court decision today will force colleges and universities to look for different ways to achieve diverse classes. Now, what that will look like precisely is not clear. There are some people who favor socioeconomic-based affirmative action. If the people who are poorer, regardless of their race, may qualify for some special consideration. There's also been some talk, although it doesn't seem to be likely, that universities could eliminate such things as preferences for the children of alumni. That would help, people have said, balance out or make the incoming classes more diverse. So the impact and the precise details of what will happen are not clear, but every college and university in the country is affected by today's decision, with the exception of the nation's service academies. The Chief Justice there said that there could be special considerations, including national security interests, that might affect the legal analysis.
Okay, so there you go. So that was, again, with the Associated Press laying out the majority opinion. David writes in the comments, John Roberts is still clinging to the fantasy that we live in a post-racial society. I love that you said this, David, because this goes into what I want us to think about, and I want your guys' take on is, how are we going to know? Now, again, we're, in my opinion, and in many people's opinions, we're not there yet, right? I mean, there's still, we're in the midst of, people don't want to talk about CRT. We don't want to talk about history. We're getting rid of books. I mean, believe me, I don't believe we're there yet. But at the same time, when businesses, corporations, colleges, universities keep saying, when affirmative action was in place, diversity is a positive thing. We want diversity. We want to keep moving towards diversity. Now it seems like they're going to have to put their money where their mouth is, right? I mean, do you really? What are your numbers going to show in the next 4 years, 8 years, as as we see the fallout of this Supreme Court decision? President Biden, of course, did not like the U.S. Supreme Court's decision. This is what he said today.
The court has effectively ended affirmative action in college admissions. And I strongly disagree with the court's decision. Because affirmative action is so misunderstood, I want to be clear, make sure everybody's clear about what the law has been and what it has not been until today. Many people wrongly believe that affirmative action allows unqualified students to be admitted ahead of qualified students. This is not how college admissions work. Rather, colleges set out standards for admission, and every student has to meet those standards. Then and only then, after first meeting the qualifications required by the school, do colleges look at other factors in addition to their grades, such as race. The court has effectively ended.
So, I mean, does that clarify anything for people who might think, I mean, Chris writes in, racist discrimination is bad when your group does it, but not when my group does it. Now, Chris, we can always depend on you for giving the other side's kind of, and I appreciate it. I really do. I'm assuming by that comment, Chris, that you believe that affirmative action is racist against, fill in the answer of who is missing out when it comes to affirmative action. And I would say and argue that obviously you can include white people in that, but Asian Americans have largely been, I don't want to speak with too broad of a brush, but there was a lot of Asian American groups that are very happy with the Supreme Court's decision, that they feel that they have also not benefited because so many Asian Americans are admitted to certain Ivy League colleges. And so to build up the diversity, they feel they've been missing out. Now, again, there is no, like the president said, we're admitting unqualified people just because they're black, brown, fill in the blank. Okay, that's not what he's saying. You have to have the grades. You have to be able to get in. And then it kind of gives you a little bit of an edge because you haven't been admitted in the same numbers or you've overcome something. Do you think that the college essay, which is still being allowed and still a place where somebody can express their racial identity and what that means to them, is going to be enough? Now, Randy, you write in, college admission should be blind and perhaps give some consideration to income. Blind. What does that look like? Is there no name? I mean, if you really want to talk about being blind, is there no gender mentioned? Is there no name mentioned? Are you just given a number? Is there no essay? Is it simply test scores? Now, again, it seems like we're going to this place where you have to be able to test a certain way. You have to have a certain amount of study habits and tutoring privilege and all those sorts of things. At the same time, they are still allowing universities to consider socioeconomic factors. Alyssa Farah Griffin, who's on The View, was making a comment, and she's like, I don't believe that a black student who comes from a rich family, who has all of, the opportunities, should get an edge over, let's say, a white person in Appalachia that comes from a very poor background, but just because they're white, they're not given the same kind of edge as the black person simply because of their race. I would agree. But I'm not in college admissions. But I would also think that a college may possibly know the socioeconomic status of someone from Appalachia and read said essay and maybe still give them an edge. It's I understand that we want things to be fair, but life is not fair. It never can be completely fair. We've all seen that analogy, right? Of people at the starting line. And then there's questions thrown at them of, did you have this? And did you have that? And take a step forward and take a step back. And then the race begins, right? For whatever, whether it's college admissions or whether it's a job or what, fill in the blank, right? Nothing is ever fair. It's just not. Your parents had money. They were able to pay for a tutor, which sets you up. My daughter has a privilege right now. My daughter is able to go to a math tutor to fill in the gaps because she has struggled in the past with math. Now, if she continues this throughout her, high school career into college, she may have an edge up on another student that lives in the same neighborhood, goes to the same school, parents could not afford to pay an outside tutor. Is that fair? They have to take the same tests. They're trying to get into the same colleges, perhaps. Nothing will ever be fair. I think that it is noble of us to try. I want to read you a statement from former First Lady Michelle Obama. And she posted this on Twitter in her reaction to affirmative action. And she said, back in college, I was one of the few Black students on my campus. And I was proud of getting into such a respected school. I knew I'd worked hard for it, but still, I sometimes wondered if people thought I got there because of affirmative action. It was a shadow that students like me could not shake, whether those doubts came from the outside or inside our own minds. But the fact is this: I belonged. And semester after semester, decade after decade, for more than half a century, countless students like me showed they belonged too. It wasn't just the kids of color who benefited either. Every student who heard a perspective they might not have encountered, who had an assumption challenged, who had their minds and their hearts opened, gained a lot as well. It wasn't perfect, but there's no doubt that it helped offer new ladders of opportunity for those who, throughout our history, have too often been denied a chance to show how fast they can climb. Of course, students on my campus and countless others across the country were and continue to be granted special consideration for admissions. Some have parents who graduated from the same school. Others have families who can afford coaches to help them run faster or hit a ball harder. Others go to a high school with lavish resources for tutors and extensive standardized test prep that help them score higher on college entrance exams. We don't usually question if those students belong. So often we just accept that money, power, and privilege are perfectly justifiable forms of affirmative action, while kids growing up like I did are expected to compete when the ground is anything but level. So today, my heart breaks for any young person out there who's wondering what their future holds and what kinds of chances will be open to them. And while I know the strength and grit that lies inside kids who have always had to sweat a little bit more to climb the same ladders, I hope and pray that the rest of us are willing to sweat a little too. Today's a reminder that we've got to do the work, not just to enact policies that reflect our values of equity and fairness, but to truly make those values real in all of our schools, workplaces, and neighborhoods. And that, again, is a statement written by former First Lady Michelle Obama. And I love the fact that she was bringing up what I was just mentioning. Different forms of affirmative action. It's kind of similar to, welfare for the rich, right? Don't give poor people anything, but wealthy people can get tax breaks, or as Bernie Sanders loves to call it, welfare for the rich. But it's as if we just don't see it that way, because that's the way it always has been. Well, they're rich, so they get that, right? They're rich, so they get to live there. They're rich, so they get the tutors and the standardized tests. And that's that's because you have money. But yes, poorer Black student, you should do just as well. We shouldn't take, anything else into consideration. Life is not fair. It's just not. And while I want it to be, I don't know how we're going to get there. And I don't know if affirmative action was, because I'm going to use it in the past tense, necessarily the only way that we can do that. Here's a clip. Christiane Amanpour had interviewed Anita Hill. This was earlier this month. And this is what Anita Hill had to say about the possibility of getting rid of affirmative action.
Well, I think they're set to reverse affirmative action because they're relying on this very faulty logic that, the time is up for it. I mean, there was a part of Justice O'Connor's opinion in the Gritter case that said in 25 years, maybe we won't need affirmative action. And they're relying on that to say, okay, you've had your chance. But what they aren't recognizing is that the problems of getting school equality, equal access to higher education have not been resolved. We are in this period of time where we are starting to see positive impacts. They're not enough, but now there are members of the court like Alito and Thomas who just want to say, okay, let's put an end to the policies and procedures that have actually helped us get to where we are. And it makes absolutely no sense when we look back, when we look at the entire context of where we are in terms of education. Justice Kagan is right. Leadership will be lost. It will revert back to where we were, decades before. And we need to continue affirmative action as well as other policies that will help students of color become leaders, and will help the entire society to become more equal and just.
Let's welcome Kim McAllister to the show. And Kim, I know you were filling in for Mark a bit today, but I mean, and I'm sure you guys talked a bit about this, but it's the question that I'm posing is, now that affirmative action is going away, one, what should replace it? Is socioeconomic factors going to be enough, in addition to mentioning race in those essays? And two, do we need moments like this where we kind of test whether we're going to go completely back, like Anita Hill was just mentioning, or if colleges, universities, and farther down the line, businesses, corporations really do believe that diversity is a positive? Because to go backwards would be to be like, thank God I don't have to do that anymore. Right. Yeah. But if you want to, if we truly believe in the things that we say, we don't need it, things are better. I mean, listen to what, and it's so rich because it's like the whitest dude ever talking about this. And I'm talking, of course, of Vice President Mike Pence.
There may have been a time 50 years ago when we needed to affirmatively take steps to correct long-term racial bias in institutions of higher education. But I can tell you, as the father of 3 college graduates,
it was no problem.
Those days are long over. There may.
I mean, really, Mike? Solved. It was hard for your daughters.
Done. No more racism at college. That's the end.
My daughters got in fine. I mean, what? I'm just Mike Pence. It is.
He's out of touch.
He's out of touch, but at the same time, people, I think, view something like affirmative action through the lens of their own privilege. I just do. And what you experienced or your kids experienced kind of obviously clouds, in my opinion, how you view something like this.
So it's interesting that Justice Clarence Thomas, has acknowledged that he got into Yale based on affirmative action in part. Even though he's been critical of those policies, they've helped him further his career.
Yeah.
I don't think it's over. I was talking today to former federal prosecutor and now defense attorney David Katz. And he kind of went through the whole history of affirmative action. If you want to go back to the Mark Thompson show later on and watch it, it's a great segment. But he's talking about from the time he was started college is when the whole affirmative action thing became an issue, and kind of went through the whole history of it. And what he was saying is one of the original rulings 20 years ago was Supreme Court Justice O'Connor, who said in 25 years we might not need this anymore. But then he talked about how in California, voters did away with quotas and affirmative action in,
Prop
college
209.
admissions. Yeah.
Right.
And he said, we saw the numbers of diverse, minorities go down when we looked at college admissions. So it does make a difference. But what he said today, and gave me a little bit of hope, is that there will have to be different ways of lifting people up, like forming these, equity groups or whatever,
DEI,
that
diversity,
go
equity, and
out and
inclusion.
they look for kids that are achievers but might not know what classes they need to take or tests they need to take to get into college, or that have no one, maybe to help them pay for extra tutoring or whatever it may be, and that there's more outreach done so more people are applying that are of color, and so you still have a diverse school population. And it looks like Harvard, when they issued the statement today that was responding to the Supreme Court ruling, said they are reaching out to their community to find ways that their Harvard community wants them to how to approach this. They're not done with making diversity one of their top priorities at Harvard. And if they can't do it this way, they'll find another way.
Well, I mean, and I'd mentioned before he came on, 70% of legacy admissions at Harvard are white people, right? And so why didn't the US Supreme Court, although it could happen, I mean, I'm not saying it can never happen, why didn't they say legacy admissions aren't allowed either, right? I mean, why should anybody get a leg up simply because your family had the means and the privilege to be able to afford an Ivy League college at a place like Stanford? Now, Bryce writes in, white people have get discriminated every day from job opportunities and college admissions, no matter how qualified they are. Discriminating against white people is alive and well. And I'd push back on that a bit, Bryce, and I would say this is my opinion, obviously, but I feel like when people say white people a white person didn't get a job, it's because they believe they should have always gotten the job. Like they're the default, right? Well, if I didn't get it, it's because you wanted to just check a box, or you just didn't get the job. Other people are supposed to suck it up and just be like, yep, I competed and I didn't get whatever. But when a white person doesn't get it, all of a sudden they're being discriminated against.
You hear stories of people years ago that will say, oh, I took the police academy test, and only if you have to score a certain percentage or above to get into the academy. And I scored higher than the applicants of color, but they got in and I didn't because they're of color and I'm not.
Yes.
But we have always known that in order to level the playing field, we are going to have to take some hits that are a little bit unfair. That maybe you're as qualified as the other applicant, but because they're of color and you're not, they're going to get it over you. And it's unfair. On an individual level, it's unfair.
Right.
But on a societal level, if you look at all the discrimination and all the things that people of color have had to overcome, and if you look at the need for diversity and of different voices, then you'll see that while it's unfair to you on a personal level, it is more fair in a societal level and a bigger picture. And it seems like white people, myself included, have somehow managed to survive despite all this. We're okay.
Well, because it is, your skin is still and always will be a privilege, whether you think it or not. You're always at that starting line where the color of your skin is not a negative. Now, I love that you brought up the individual versus a societal, because you can look at things. Look at the racial makeup of, people in the C-suite, people in government, right? The presidents of this country. Like, there are huge things that you can look at and say, well, if things were really fair, in quotes, and we really were done needing something like affirmative action, why are they not reaching? And if you say, well, we have to give it time, well, then now is not the time to get rid of the programs that in these institutions that can be a pipeline to more diversity in the higher levels. So that's why I do believe it's too far, or it's too soon.
I guess I could ask a question. Are there more Black people at Harvard than there are white people?
No.
Are there more black
I mean,
people
I don't know
at,
the makeup of Harvard University. I shouldn't just say that off the top of my head.
are there more black people at Duke or Princeton or Yale than there are white people?
So 40% white, 27% Asian, about 11% Hispanic, 9% African American. So 40 to
So,
9.
No, the answer is no.
The answer is no.
Well, then we don't have a problem, do we?
Right.
I mean, is that how the country looks? And when we look around, does that reflect it? So no, but we're doing a better job than we have been in the past.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's disappointing because you want these communities, if you know what institutional racism is, you don't get the housing loan, you don't get the job because of the way your name sounds, you don't get as much for the house you're selling because you have pictures of your African American family hanging up. All these things and the way we push people down, we need to help lift people up. It's the economic disparity between us that's really right now dividing us the most.
Yeah.
And so if we don't find a way to do that, then the disparity is going to get larger and larger, in my opinion.
Right.
And so I feel like I'm glad that David Katz mentioned finding different ways to help people achieve.
Absolutely. And that's what they're going to have to do, because what I don't think that colleges and businesses want are headlines saying this was the makeup of your university or your corporation back then, and this is it now. And so you're obviously going backwards. Now, Randy, he says, so what's the answer to the question? At what point have we reached some objective measure that we've achieved success with affirmative action? How is success measured? Excellent question. And I don't think we're there yet. I feel like when we live in a time in 2023 where books that deal with race, that deal with segregation, that deal, that we grew up reading, but then are just not appropriate anymore. When we're living in that right now, we haven't reached it. Yeah. When we're still fighting about stuff like this. Now, do I hope that we can still reach it? Do I hope that the road to equality is still, in the future, and we can still come to it even without laws making us? You can't, and I've always said this, you cannot legislate racism out of society, right? Because it's an individual thing. It's the individual interaction with another individual. You could set up laws to punish blatant acts of racism and discrimination, obviously. But, it's just a complicated thing. And on one hand, while I agree that if you're the white person who's lost out on a job and it's made clear to you it is because of your race, and the employer kind of makes the point that Kim just made, like, yeah, it's a little unfair, but the goal of this organization or this university and of our society is to move into a more diverse embodiment of our society. You're part of that plan, and I'm sorry that doesn't work out for you, but it's going to be better in the long run. That's fine and dandy for the societal macro way of looking at it. But when you're talking about, well, now I have to go home and tell my partner I don't have a job, or everything I've worked for and gone to school for, I'm not going to get my goal because of the color of my skin, you feel like crap, right? And so,
well, guess who else feels like crap?
Exactly.
The people who've been judged by the color of their skin since the dawn of this country.
Yeah. So that's exactly that's just what I was going to say. That's the point. Is it sucks. And I wish that we can come to a place where not only businesses and universities, whenever, don't look at race as a factor, don't need to. We also, as a person, need to be like, the only reason I didn't get what I want is because they gave it to that black person, right? Yeah. So it's going to take a both sides type of thing, and we're not there. And it is disappointing, again, being here in California, and we haven't had affirmative action for a very long time. This isn't new for us, right? It's not new for us in going into universities if you wanted to go to a UC or a CSU. And as I said before, CSU is doing a better job maintaining diversity on their campuses than the UCs are. I do think societal pressure to maintain and improve diversity is really what we're going to have to kind of push and to pin our hopes on a little bit. But it's It was a decision indeed. Okay, so we're going to do a couple headlines with Kim. When we come back, we'll also touch on briefly the U.S. Supreme Court decision regarding employees that have religious beliefs that make it so they can't work on certain days. It was the postal worker, right? So the postal worker said, I can't deliver stuff on Sunday. And it was fine for a while until it was a hardship. And so there was that whole debate. What do you think about this? And I think this could be a very slippery slope. It's heading back to the lower court. We'll get into that as well. Also, in the next half hour, I want to talk about jury duty. How many of you have ever served on a jury? They're thinking about bumping up the pay. Were you excited to do it with your civic duty and all that? Do you remember the case that you covered? And would $100 a day kind of entice you to kind of sign up and not ignore that mailer that you get that says, you really should come in for jury duty? Click the thumbs up button before we go to Kim's news because we absolutely love it. We'll talk about all that next.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
So, as mentioned by Nikki Medoro today, the race can no longer be used as a factor in deciding on college admissions. That comes after the Supreme Court ruled in favor today of challenges to the affirmative action programs at the University of North Carolina and at Harvard. The High Court ruled that the university's admissions policies were unconstitutional. And we get reaction, the Supreme Court being praised by the group that sued to overturn affirmative action practices in college admissions. The founder and president of Students for Fair Admission said the opinion issued by the High Court reestablishes the founding principles of our Civil Rights Act. He urged allowing colleges and universities to consider a student's race to either admit or reject them is discriminatory. Flight delays and cancellations continue to pile up as the busy holiday weekend gets closer. More than 3,900 flights have been canceled or delayed so far today in the U.S. It is a mess at the airport. This comes as more than 2.8 million people are expected to pass through TSA this weekend. The poor air quality caused by Canadian wildfires is back, possibly affecting millions of Americans. As of this morning, 23 states are under air quality alerts from the Midwest to the Northeast and parts of the South. The smoke is expected to cover areas in the Great Lakes, the Appalachian Mountains, and the Ohio Valley as the day moves on. Here in California, Governor Gavin Newsom is doubling the number of state police officers in San Francisco as the city continues to try to put a stop to fentanyl dealing. The move comes after Governor Newsom deployed the CHP to help the San Francisco Police Department in an extra enforcement operation last month in the Tenderloin and the south of Market areas as well. Governor Newsom sending an additional CHP officers, he's sending in additional CHP officers and California National Guard members. A spokesperson for the governor says about 7 to 10 CHP officers have been working on the operation since May, and that increases from just over a dozen to up to 20 officers a day. Speaking of that, moments ago, I got a press release from the San Jose area, also working on what's going on with fentanyl in the South Bay as well. This press release says that San Jose's Consulate General of Mexico is now working with Santa Clara County this summer to take action on deadly fentanyl coming into the community at a high rate. So now the city of San Jose and their fentanyl working group will be working with the Consulate General of Mexico to try to stem the tide of fentanyl coming into the South Bay. The final hearing was held today on reparations for Black people in California. The idea being discussed would pay descendants of slaves or people in the country since the late 1800s. Many speakers were present, spoke today. Some talked about reparations from an Asian American perspective, the discrimination there and why they wouldn't be eligible for something as well. So we'll hear something from the task force to find out exactly what they've come up with. Meanwhile, a Texas grand jury is deciding if rapper Travis Scott should face criminal charges over the Astro World Music Festival stampede. Remember that? 10 people killed in 2021 during that festival headlined by Scott. The youngest was just 9 years old. And speaking of music, pop icon Madonna is recovering at home now after she was in the ICU for a while. CNN reports the singer was discharged and taken to her New York City home in a private ambulance. Madonna's manager announced early yesterday her upcoming celebration tour is being postponed as she recovers from a bacterial infection, possibly some type of staph infection that made her really sick. She had to be in ICU for several days. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is the Nikki Medoro Show.
I'm here. I'm sorry. I was putting in a picture. I'm putting in a picture of the dude that I'm right about to talk about. All right. Thank you, Kim, so much for those headlines. So this is a picture of, his name is Gerald Groff. So here he is. This is the postal worker. This is the postal worker behind the U.S. Supreme Court decision. So the U.S. Supreme Court today strengthened the ability of employees like Groff to obtain accommodations at work for their religious practices. We went over this story before. So apparently he's an evangelical Christian. He quit being a postal worker after they did not give him Sundays off. Now, the U.S. Supreme Court didn't, it's a weird thing. So what they did actually was they threw out a lower court's decision rejecting Groff's claim that the Postal Service's actions refusing to exempt him from working on Sundays violated anti-discrimination laws. They want the Third U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals that ruled that giving him Sundays off was too much of a hardship. They wanted them to reconsider the matter. So the case centers on the federal anti-discrimination law of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits employment discrimination based on religion and other factors. Under Title VII, employers must make allowances for a worker's religious observance or practices unless it would cause the business undue hardship. Well, what the hell is undue hardship? Apparently, Groff worked as a rural carrier. So, it was one carrier, a lot of land to cover, right? And so he had to fill in as needed for absent carriers, including on weekends. Well, he failed to report to his assigned Sunday shifts. Postal Service officials tried to accommodate by swapping shifts, but that didn't always work, obviously. Anybody that works and has to swap shifts, it doesn't always work. And his absences also caused tension among other carriers who had to cover his shifts. Because I'm sorry, who doesn't want Sunday off? So here's my question. One, do you think that it's fair that he was asking for this accommodation? Do you think that the Postal Service was facing an undue hardship, which the lower court agreed with, but the Supreme Court did not agree with? And does anyone think this is going to be a slippery slope and is ready to create a religion where you never have to work on weekends? Because that's what I'm thinking. Like, why would I not just say, I'm sorry, I have a religion that says I can't work on weekends. My God says you must relax Saturdays.
Take the holy day off. That's it. My God says Friday night and Saturday morning where I need to sleep in.
There you go.
Don't bother.
I
Kim,
can't do anything.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And I'm not trying to make light of people's beliefs, but that's what if my belief system says something completely different? How are employers? I would understand if they would never give it off to him. But if there was just, we're in a bind, man, you're just going to have to work on this Sunday.
So I think that if you take a job and you tell them up front, I can't work from this day to this day because I already had scheduled vacation. And I just want you to know that my religion considers Sunday the high holy day. And so Sundays I'm unable to work.
Right.
Then the job knows, okay, here's this person's availability. Can it work with our schedule or can it not? Right. And they can hire, if you're going on vacation and they need you to start right away, then maybe you're not the right candidate.
Right.
Or if they're open on Sunday and they have no one to work but you, and that was the shift they were looking for someone for, and none of their other employees can do it, or maybe you're the only employee, whatever, then you're not the right candidate for the job. But if they know going into it that you can't work on Sundays because you have this religious obligation, then they shouldn't be trying to make you work it.
Well, and Randy's completely right. So when he got hired, he didn't have to work on Sundays because there was no Sunday mail delivery. But then a year after he was hired, the Postal Service entered an agreement with Amazon to deliver their packages on Sunday. So that's what kind of threw this wrench into the plan. And
Right.
obviously, he was initially exempted from Sunday deliveries. But after the union representing postal workers created a new system for filling Sunday shifts, Groff was told he would have to be available. His absences on Sunday actually led to coworkers quitting, transferring, or having to cover for him. So he decided to resign, concluding that he was being forced to choose between his work and his religious practice.
I don't understand that. Why wouldn't they just, if he's been there a while, why wouldn't they just give him a Monday through Friday schedule, make him a regular worker? And
I
why
think
doesn't he?
I think they did. I think that
Yeah.
well, I don't know what the new system for filling Sunday shifts is, but maybe it was everybody has to be available, no
Everyone has to-
exemptions because it's a
right.
union. And then so because he didn't want to work, they would
Yeah.
always have to be filling the shift. So it was always
Special
like a
treatment.
no. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a pain in the ass. I get it. And you know what? I wish that they could have worked it out. I'm
Yeah.
not against this guy. I'm not even against anybody that has a religious belief in which you have to be off Sundays or take certain holidays off. That fine.
Yeah.
But at the same time, then it opens it up to anybody and any kind of excuse and under the guise of, oh, it's my religion. Sorry.
So I guess I argue, or my feeling is that different days work for different people. Like, there have been times where weekend work is better for me because
Right.
during the week there's only maybe one of us home and someone has to pick up the kids from school. But during the weekend there are two of us home, so no one has to worry about childcare. So for me, taking a Sunday shift is great because I know that my husband has the kids here at home and it's fine, right? So there's always going to be someone like that, and there's always going to be someone like him. And
Mhm.
hopefully in the scheme of things it all works out.
Yeah. I mean, he's obviously out of a job, and I do admire, him standing up for his own religious beliefs because he didn't know how this case was going to work out, right? And he did choose, and I think appropriately so, right? I mean, if you're firm in your religious beliefs and it's against your
Yeah.
religion, good. You
Do what you
stood
gotta
up
do.
for your belief. But
Yeah.
now, because of this case, and of course it's just been handed down to the lower court to reconsider, I can imagine people exploiting it. And that's just my thing, but I guess they could have exploited it now. I mean, you could always
Yeah.
say this is my religion. So anyways, we'll see how it plays out. Jim, why can't Amazon deliver it? They use these third-party deliveries and they work with the Postal Service in some of these areas. And again, a rural route. So that's two words that are difficult to say, which makes it very difficult. And they might not have as much staff as other areas. So that's probably why. All right.
I have a little
Good.
bit of breaking news if I could.
Oh, yes, please
A
lay it on me.
story that we've been following together,
Mhm.
and it is the Parkland School Resource Officer at Marjorie Stone. I want to say
Stoneman
Stoneman
Douglas.
Stone Douglas High School.
Yeah.
This officer who didn't go inside,
Mhm.
right? And who he stayed outside on the 2018 mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland. He had been charged of
Abandoning something, right? Or
yeah,
something.
child neglect, dereliction of duty type of charges. This, of course, 17 people, including 14 students, gunned down that day. It was the deadliest U.S. high school shooting ever, and he didn't go in. He
Right.
has been acquitted of all charges.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
What
that
was
just happened. He's
was
found
there any
not
statement made with that, or
guilty. I'm trying
like
to.
why was he acquitted? You know what I mean? Isn't it if it's your job to go in and you don't go in? Although, are the Uvalde people are they being charged with anything? Yeah, I don't
think
know.
they mostly were fired. I don't know.
Or stepped down because I'm assuming you're just filled with shame as children die while you wait outside. But
they said, well, I think it was his attorney, to sit in the calmness of a courtroom that is chill and mellow and try to go back to Monday morning quarterback it is not fair and it's unjust. The defense attorney in the closing argument said 24 witnesses came in here one by one and told you they couldn't tell from the sounds precisely the area we were talking about. And that was one of his arguments used in his defense, is that he didn't know exactly where the gunshots were coming from, which he said is why he didn't go inside.
Which makes that invention that those high school girls here in the South Bay are creating, kind of a shot spotter for high school, even more needed. Because I'll give you that. I mean, if you're hearing echoes of gunshots, and I'm sorry, you're also a human being that's scared out of your wits, right? You want to know what you're dealing with. You want to know where they are. I get that. I don't know how you hear gunshots though, and I guess there's just some people who don't care and just run in where there's danger, and other people just can't.
He's 60 years old. His name is Scott Peterson, not Scott Peterson, California.
No relation.
No relation. Scott Peterson, not the notorious criminal, but the notorious officer who didn't go inside.
Right.
He was found not guilty of 7 counts of felony child neglect, 3 counts of culpable negligence, and 1 count of perjury. The jury found him not guilty.
Okay.
So.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, there's that breaking story. I'm going to just end it on this. I was watching this movie with my husband, The Covenant. It's with Jake Gyllenhaal. It's actually pretty good. It's about, working with the Afghani interpreters, and one of them was left behind. It's actually a pretty good movie. Anyways, every time I watch war movies, I think the exact same thing. And it's the same thing with cops. I'm too much of a chicken shit. I could never ever be a cop. I can never run towards something where people are shooting. Okay. I'm not made for that. I do not have the backbone and the bravery to do something. So I will not shame others that are like, oh my God, I can't go. I get that. I watch movies and I'm like, I don't know how the hell they're running towards that. And it's fake, right? Yeah. It's too much. But
what if it was your kid in that school?
Oh no, I would be in there.
You're in.
I would, that if it's my child, I'm in.
Pushing past officers and I'm trying to get in. Yeah.
But if I'm just a cop and this is my everyday job, if I'm a soldier and this is just my, my routine, no, I wouldn't sign. But again, I wouldn't sign up for it either. I wouldn't pretend that I'm brave enough to do that job. I am not brave enough to do that job at all. So I do respect those that do or try. But if you let kids die inside of school, I don't know about you. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about jury duty. So, Kim, have you ever served on a jury?
I've been called for jury duty, but I've never been selected.
Yeah, that was me. I was called once, and actually like twice, but I actually made it, and then they called me back, and I still didn't get on the jury. I didn't even get into the part to go into the friggin' room. So I always felt like it was a waste of time. I was called in a lot when I was pregnant with my kids, so I always used it as an excuse to not go in at all. Because it's all day, right? And there's no guarantee you're even going to see any action, right? Yeah. It's like, if I'm going to sit here, at least choose me. So there's some entertainment value in it. Well, they are trying here in California to bump up the pay that they give people, because right now it's $15 a day. That's it. $15 a day is what you get paid. So here's a little bit of a report from ABC7 talking about it. And pay people more.
A pilot program started last spring in San Francisco called Be the Jury is meant to make serving more accessible.
People are only paid $15 a day. And if they served on a jury, they'd have to forgo, the money they'd make that day.
800 qualified participants so far, including those under certain income brackets. Each received $100 a day. The results were eye-opening for Ann Stuhldreher, director of the Financial Justice Project, who oversees the program.
People have an average household income of $38,000. Almost all of them say they could not have served on a jury but for this $100 a day stipends.
The demographic makeup of those who participated on juries because of the stipend are also more reflective of the community.
The majority of folks who are serving are people of color, and the demographics almost exactly match the demographics of San Francisco.
The pilot will now expand to LA, Alameda, Kern, and Monterey counties, and cost just over $5 million from the general fund. Assemblymember Phil Ting, who sponsored the legislation, acknowledges $100 a day won't replace everyone's paycheck.
If you're making minimum wage or even a living wage job, you're making a little bit more than $100 a day. But at least then you can decide whether or not that public service, that public duty is worth that sacrifice.
All right. So how many of you have served on a jury? Now, Randy, he has an interesting comment. I think we should go to professional juries. Well, I mean, what does that look like? How do you choose who's do you go to school to be in a jury? I mean, it's supposed to be a jury of your peers, everyday people, being vetted by attorneys on both sides, and then chosen. Jennifer says jury duty is a necessary evil and it generally sucks, but it is a civic duty. Again, I've never served on a jury. I know people that have. I know people that have served on like murder cases and whatever.
Really?
And I think that it's all based on how interesting of a case you're on. You know what I mean? It matters if it's just, I don't know, a dispute type of thing. I'm sure people are like, it's boring, but
yeah.
John says I was in a jury pool, but I didn't get picked. So when you say you were in a jury pool and didn't get picked, so like attorneys questioned you and then they're like, yeah, we don't want John. He's not going to help us or he's going to hurt us or something like that. Because that's what I see in the movies. I've never gotten that far. So you guys would have to tell me how it works. Vilma says, I'm all for bumping up jury pay because I worked for the government. I was able to forego my jury duty pay for my regular salary while doing my civic duty. Yes, I have served on a jury. Yeah. Wow. See, $100 a day, it's like they'll think it's not going to replace many people's daily salary, but I would much rather have $100 than $15. You can barely buy lunch for $15, and they're not serving you lunch there, by the way. Randy says, I've been called numerous times over the 45 years I've been here. Made it onto a jury a couple of times, dismissed both times. Randy, were you ever, what do they call it? What do they call the leader of the jury?
The foreman?
The foreman, thank you. The foreperson. Yeah. Were you ever the foreperson? That's what I would want to be. Like
in charge?
Yes.
There's a surprise.
I mean, shoot, if I'm going to be there, right? Natalie says, I haven't formed an opinion yet. The plaintiff and defendant share the cost. When a case goes to trial, the parties pay about $1,050 a week. If this passes, it will cost $7,000 a week. Okay. I mean, they have $5 million that's what the report said, $5 million to institute this. But I will say the results of the pilot program to get more people onto juries like that, and every time I think of a jury now, I keep thinking about the jury that's going to have to decide former Trump's criminal charges. Yeah. And, do you allow Trump supporters on that jury? Because it just takes one, fly in the ointment to be like, nope, we're not talking about it. It doesn't matter. But that's how it is with any case. You have a domestic violence case and you can have a woman that's been a victim of domestic violence and she'll automatically think the guy is guilty. Perhaps. I'm just throwing it out there. So everybody brings in with them their own biases. Don says, I filled out a questionnaire and after they read them, I didn't get picked for some reason.
I think they ask, one of the things they ask you is, are you able to, despite your, opinions or political leanings, hear the evidence and be fair and impartial,
right?
And judge the merits of the case. I
think I'd be good on a jury. I think I would. I don't know anybody that would think that they wouldn't be good. No, they're like, nope, totally biased. Can't. I'm racist. I'm a bigot. Nope, don't choose me. Beth says, I was always dismissed. I really wanted to serve. My employer paid me anyway. That's awesome.
They used to not want members of the media.
Like I know, but now it's not an excuse because I feel like everybody's a member of the media nowadays.
Exactly.
Jennifer says, I've been about 10 times and I served on one trial. Wow, look at you. Don says there's an art to filling out the questionnaire so you don't get selected without looking like you're trying not to get selected. I didn't know this. You don't even get the $15 unless you are chosen. I thought I did get it just for waiting in the room. No? It was a long time ago. I thought I got it even if I waited in the room. Let's see. Let me read a couple more of these. Most of our jury trials at work last about 2 weeks, so you'd have to be taking 2 weeks off of work. If you really hate your job, though, I guess. But again, it's all about the pay, people. Vilma says, no MAGA on the jury. They're too biased. But again, then that's not really a jury of your peers, right? If you really want it to be fair, if Trump was to get, and we can discuss this probably when his criminal trial, when it gets closer and they do a jury selection, But the society includes Trumpers and non-Trumpers, right? MAGA and non-MAGA. If we were going to make it a true balanced jury, I would say that at least one, although, attorneys always have nope, they could strike certain people automatically. So I would imagine they strike them, but then Trump would just use it as an excuse on why he'd be convicted, but he'd be convicted. So who cares, right? That would just be awesome, but don't hold your breath. Katie says, I served on 4 juries in San Francisco. I worked for Station X and they didn't dock my pay. Ooh, Katie. All right. I had no problem being in media. The $15 kicks in after the first day. Oh, I guess I didn't get my $15 because the time I was brought in. No, I guess I didn't get it. Well, I think that it's a good pilot program. You have to pay people more. You just do. You have to pay people more to do things many people just don't want to do. All right. Kim, let's do a couple quick headlines because we have Jefferson Graham waiting in the wings. I'm excited about this one. He's going on a road trip for like 30 days. I'm going to Hawaii next week. I want his tips and tricks. Now, we talked about taking the perfect sunset. And I know already that I'm supposed to wait until after the sun goes down. Right after it goes down. Don't wait for a little bull.
The magic hour or whatever, right? Yeah.
I also want tips for taking good family portraits because I'm a cheapskate. And so if I could take a night, my niece, full disclosure, is bringing a fancy schmancy camera, I think. But just in case she doesn't, we have not taken photos as a family. I want to say for at least 4 to 5 years. So my kids have significantly grown. The last pictures I have, my daughter has a pixie cut and she has long hair. My son had a missing front tooth. He's already had grown the tooth, had braces, and had those braces taken off. So it has been an extremely long time.
It's
I would like at least one nice family photo. So I want Jefferson Graham's tips and tricks for that. We'll also talk about Costco. None of these companies want us to share anymore, Kim. I thought we were supposed to share. We grew up share. Well, now sharing, and nobody wants to share with me anymore. So
get your own membership.
What is that all about?
Cough up your $125. That's it. Or no Costco for you.
Well, I do belong to Costco, just to tell you. But yeah, they're cracking down on Costco memberships. But I'll tell you a story after Jefferson Graham about how I was able to get away with it for a while with someone that wanted to share with me, because obviously I did, right? Obviously. All right, but first, here's Kim with some headlines.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Well, as we mentioned, the verdict is in for Parkland, Florida's school resource officer, Scott Peterson, charged with not confronting the 2018 Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooter. Here's sound from today.
We, the jury, find as follows as to the defendant in this case. The defendant is not guilty. So say we all this 29th day of June 2023 at Fort Lauderdale, Broward County.
Yeah, not guilty. Not guilty for all 11 counts, as a matter of fact. Peterson had faced up to 95 years in prison on child neglect, culpable negligence, and perjury charges. The jury began deliberating Monday afternoon after the trial that lasted about 2.5 weeks. The prosecution argued Peterson was the student's caregiver and that he didn't follow active shooter protocols. The defense argued Peterson didn't know where the shots were coming from. How could he run toward them? And again, not guilty on all counts. Republicans are praising the Supreme Court's ruling against affirmative action programs in college admissions. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said students will now be able to compete based on equal standards and individual merit. Meanwhile, former Vice President Pence said he was pleased the court put an end to, quote, this egregious violation of civil and constitutional processes, end quote. 23 states are under air quality alerts thanks to smoke from Canadian wildfires. The air quality alerts stretch from the Mideast to the Northeast and parts of the South. The smoke expected to cover areas of the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, the Appalachian Mountains as the day moves on. And I gotta say, this has been going on for a while. I wonder how their firefighting efforts are going up there. More on former Vice President Mike Pence. He is in Ukraine to meet with President Zelensky. He is the first Republican 2024 presidential candidate to meet with Zelensky. Pence has been vocal about his support for Ukraine, the trip sending a message that he believes the U.S. should play a lead role in the country's fight against Russia. Protesters are coming off their second night of demonstrations in Paris after a fatal police shooting of a teenage boy. Police arrested about 150 people Wednesday after an explosive Tuesday when 24 officers were injured and 40 cars burned in the Parisian suburbs. The President Macron has said the violence is unjustifiable, the same word he used to describe the killing of the teenager. An Iowa woman who lost her home in a 2001 tornado has won the lottery. Some bad happens, some good happens. Life has ups and downs for this lady. Tammy Gordy won the $2 million Powerball prize. Gordy and her husband plan to use the money to finish building their new home. And actor Pete Davidson is entering rehab for his mental health. TMZ reporting Davidson has checked himself into a program to get help with PTSD and depression. Davidson's been candid about his health struggles. He says he periodically goes into rehab to help better himself, and he is doing that again. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is the Nikki Medoro Show.
That's awesome that he's doing that, you know?
And that he's vocal about it.
Yeah, taking care of your mental health is very, very important. All right. Yeah. Thank you, Kim. Please, you guys, click the thumbs up button to show your support of the show. We appreciate it. The super chat is also live, and I want to give some thank yous right now. Rick started us off with a $5 donation, and then
Rick.
Wes followed right after
with
Wes? A $5 donation. And Jim, he was not going to be left out of the party, so he also donated $5 in a super sticker.
Thank
you guys so very much. And yeah, just look for the $sign, whether you're watching right now live or in the replay, because it totally helps us out. And again, go to thenikkimedoroshow.com, thenikkimedoroshow.com, and sign up to be a monthly Patreon subscriber and help us continue doing the show. All right. It is now time to welcome our friend Jefferson Graham from Photo Walks TV, found right here on YouTube. Hello, my friend. How are you?
How about two thumbs up? Thumbs up?
That is the best that you can be, unless you want to start bringing up your big toes. All right. So you are about to head off on a 30-day trip. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're going on an adventure, it seems like. Where are you going again?
Well, I'm driving to South Dakota from LA by way of Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and then coming back through Wyoming and Idaho and Utah and Nevada. How's that?
That is quite the itinerary.
I have a little bit of Nebraska too.
Oh wow.
Just gonna
give it a little kiss. Okay, so what is the purpose of this trip? What can people expect? I'm assuming you're going to be sharing some amazing photos on Photo Walks TV.
Yeah, well, I produced this series called Photo Walks TV where I take people to great places and show them around and show them how to get great photos. So got to feed the beast.
Yeah.
Got to do it. So I'm doing new episodes. I am attending a photo workshop about shooting the night skies in South Dakota. I am filming a class for the Kelby One, which is a photo instruction website on how to photograph the American West with an iPhone.
Nice.
And, so it'll be a busy 30 days.
What are you most excited to see? Is there any landmark or something that you're so looking forward to taking a picture of?
Monument Valley, which is the old Western place where it was in all the old John Ford movies, and it was where Forrest Gump ended his run many years ago. If you're old enough to remember that movie.
I'm done. I'm gonna go home now. Yeah, that part.
Yeah. I'm staying at the View Hotel. There's one hotel in Monument Valley, one. And I'm staying there, which has a balcony with looking out at that view. So that should be pretty amazing. So I'm very excited about that. And don't know how you're going to top that. So
yeah.
That
and you're only bringing your iPhone? Are you only bringing your iPhone?
iPhone and Galaxy and a GoPro and an Insta360 and
Okay, good.
All
good.
mobile.
Well, I'm sure
and a lot of cables.
A lot of cables. I expect everyone will see amazing photography on Photo Walks TV. Again, you could find that on YouTube. But yeah, I'm leaving Sunday. I'm spending a week in Hawaii, in Maui. Very, very excited. Now, last time, well, not the last time, but when we've had you on in the past, you were talking about those sunset pics, which of course I am sure I will shoot, and I will practice the tips and tricks about waiting until the sun goes all the way down and then taking the picture to get all those colors. But I live by one saying when I take pictures on vacation, Jefferson, and that is I want people inside the picture. I do not want to just see picture after picture, even though they're gorgeous, of just surroundings. I want to see my son in the picture, or my daughter, or my husband, or myself, or something like that. So what are the best ways to get a really good candid / even staged photo? I'm thinking family, beach, ocean, something like that. What are some of the best pieces of advice you can give me?
I will give all that to you. I just want to let you know that as somebody who has gone to the islands in Hawaii several times, the best shots for me were not sunset. They were sunrise. And
yeah,
they
that's
weren't
so
even,
early and I'm on vacation, man. You
they
know?
weren't, it was before the sunrise. It was a half hour before the sun rose. I saw colors in the sky that I'd never seen in my life. I couldn't believe what I was catching. Once the sunrise, and it was like that. It was so fast. So one morning, do yourself a major favor. Get yourself out of bed and just watch.
What time? What time? I gotta set alarms.
I don't know what time the sun rises in Maui.
Don't you have that app? What was that app that tells you the glow? Does that do it for the morning?
I can't look right now while I'm talking to you.
What was it called? What was it called?
What was it?
No, I'm gonna totally put you on the spot.
I don't remember, but it's on here. It's on my phone.
Okay.
I'm assuming that the sunrise is at 6, and which means that you'd want to be there at 5:30. Wouldn't that be good? 5:30?
You're killing me. I mean, I've told my son already because the hotel that we're staying at my son's really into working out. Like that's his goal, every day working out. And so they have these, morning yoga, sunrise yoga workout things on the beach. And I was like, maybe if you catch me on a morning that I'm feeling up for it, we can go together and do it together. Cause that would just be an amazing memory to do with my son. Cause he's really into it. And so I was thinking, but they start like at 7:30, not 5:30. So I don't know.
Okay, all I'm telling you is I'm in Monument Valley.
I have to get everybody up if I want the family photo. What am I going to wake myself up and
in
just
Monument Valley? I'm going on a photo tour with some guides, some Native Americans who show off the area because they know more about it than I do, and I'm meeting them at 5:10. Okay, so
but see, this is your thing. I just want a good shot. I don't want to like. I gotta get dressed, right? What?
Did you not hire a professional photographer to take the family photos?
Well, my niece is getting into photography. I'd mentioned that before, so I think she asked, "Can I take family photos of you?" And I'm like, obviously, but I don't know. I haven't confirmed. We're not there yet. I don't know what she's bringing, and I sure as hell know she ain't gonna wake up at. Because then we have to get ready. I have to get dressed. I gotta look cute. I'm not gonna look like I'm in my pajamas at 5:30.
Okay, that's fine. Do your family photos on the other 4 days. Just one day, get up early and go see the sunrise for me. Okay, because I think it'll be worth it. And remember, it's on one side of the island or the other. Because you don't know. Anyway, family photos. When I think of when I think of your family photos, I'm thinking 4 of you with the ocean behind you.
Yes, that's what I would love.
Sand.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you want. No. And if you do it at 2 p.m, you're going to get terrible shadows on your faces. If you do it at magic hour, it'll look a lot better. It's pretty simple, right? And again, my policy. If it doesn't work that way, do it that way. Do it that way. Just keep moving until you get a good shot. And pretty much that's your shot. That's what you want. You want a picture of the 4 of you in front of a beautiful location. Right?
Let me ask you, I think I know the answer, but like selfie sticks, I mean, they're still pretty good for taking, because I don't know if my niece is going to bring all of her camera equipment everywhere we go, and I might find a spot along our travels where I want something. Selfie sticks are a really good option, and they don't look like I'm taking a picture with a selfie stick, right?
I'll be taking my selfie stick everywhere I go for the next 30 days because I shoot PhotoWalks TV on a selfie stick, believe it or not. But that's what I do.
Do you have a tabletop stand for your phone?
A tabletop stand,
like a small one. Like, see how my microphone is like on a little like a stand, something like that. Okay,
like this. Yeah, I have this. I don't
And
use
that's
it,
your
but I
iPhone
have
on
it.
it? Your iPhone? Something like that, because I want to eat and like maybe do little food reviews, because everybody's just giving me a bunch of food recommendations. So I was thinking about doing stuff, but I need something to put my phone on just in case.
Just over the table.
Yeah, but what if I want to record something is what I was thinking, That's what I was thinking. The food reviews are coming.
They're $10. They're very easy to get.
Fancy,
But the tripod that I like, let me show it to you again, my selfie stick, because I think I've shown it before. This is my selfie stick, right?
Yeah.
And it becomes a tripod.
See, I could put that in my backpack. You know what I mean? If I'm just going.
$25. Insta360 selfie stick / tripod.
Insta 360 tripod. Okay. Selfie. And that's a selfie stick too. So
yes.
See? Okay. I'm going to the store today. There we go.
The one thing you're going to have to get it on Amazon, because you're not going to find it at a local store. You also need a smartphone adapter to go on the top of the selfie stick. And that's $10. And I will be happy to send you the link.
Send me the link, yes, ASAP, because I leave on Sunday, and hopefully
if you
Amazon
order
can
it
get
today,
it.
You'll have both of it hopefully
Perfect
by Saturday, right?
All right.
Just have it delivered to the beach.
Lots of great locations. You just put the four of you in front of places. If you can sit down, then you could do the selfie and put the camera on the timer. Do you know how to do the timer?
Yeah, I know how to do the timer. That I know how to do. That's pretty much.
Okay, but if you sit down, this is a 4-foot tripod. And if you can't do it standing up, but you could certainly get everybody, on a bench.
We're kind of short, Jefferson. I don't know, 4 feet. We could just kind of slouch a little bit. We might be good.
It's a little hard. A little hard.
Somebody has a question for you. Jim asks, Jefferson, do you use those sticky things to put the phone on a wall?
I don't know what that is.
What is that, Jim?
Could Jim give us more information?
Yeah, give us a little bit more. I was thinking that he meant, those magic tiles or those photo tiles that they put on the wall. That's what I was thinking that Jim was talking about. But and other people are recommending that you have a lot of good air conditioning because you're going to places that are extremely hot.
Me.
You, yeah. I guess your trip to North Dakota.
It's going to be South Dakota. It's going to be 90 degrees. But remember, when am I photographing?
Probably at the butt crack and
morning and in the evening, and then you get the rest of the day off. It's all going to be done before it gets really hot.
Awesome. Okay, well, Jefferson, send me that link. I always appreciate it. And if you want to check out all of Jefferson's amazing tips, tricks, and his amazing trip to South Dakota and Utah and kissing Nebraska and all those, go to PhotoWalks TV right here on YouTube and check out his show. Jefferson.
And let me just say, I will not be able to check in with you until August, because who knows what the reception is going to be, right?
Oh, that's true. Okay, so, in August, there are big changes. Thank you for saying that. There's big changes coming to the Nikki Medoro Show. And so we will send all of those details to you as well.
Do you want to give me a hint?
We're changing times. We are changing times.
Yeah.
So just as you want me to wake up very early on my Hawaiian vacation, you too, my friend, may have to wake up just as slightly earlier for
Nikki,
us.
I get up at 4:30 every day.
Oh, no problem.
It's not going to be that early, but yeah. So you're here with the first announcement that we're making of that, but that's not happening until August. So have a great trip and be safe. And we'll talk to you in August.
All righty. Thanks again.
Bye. Yeah. So just to let you guys know, we are moving the show. We weren't going to make this announcement until after I got back from Hawaii, but this is a little bit of for everybody. Yeah. So we're just going to be moving it probably right around 9:00. We're not going to go into Mark Thompson's show. It's going to work better for Mark, and it's going to work better for myself and for Kim, and kind of gets us back into the morning to start the day.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a fun move. So
it'll be the Nikki Medoro Show from 9 to 11.
Yes.
And the Mark Thompson Show from 11 to 1.
Yes. So and we'll give you way more details and all sorts of things as we lead up to it. But it's not happening right now. It's not happening this month, but it is happening in a couple of weeks. Okay. So one of my first stops that I'm going to be making on my Hawaiian trip, Kim, is to Costco. I'm going to be going to Costco when I get off the plane.
Does that mean you're not carrying your bottles of booze and the
Yes,
plane
because you
with
guys shamed me for being
God.
cheap.
It's
I thought it was
ridiculous.
going to be a significant difference in price. I'm sorry. If you have to ship everything to Hawaii, I would assume that it's
No.
going to cost more, even if it is Costco. But you guys talked me out of it. So fine. I'm not going to. But Costco's cracking down on memberships. Here's a little bit of a news report on it. And I just, thought sharing was a good thing to do, right? Jeez.
No.
Whatever.
This morning, the end of freeloading at the Costco self checkout. The wholesale giant cracking down on membership sharing, requiring that shoppers now show their membership cards, which include an ID photo, before swiping their merchandise at the self-service kiosks.
Those Costco memberships equal revenue and profit for Costco, the retailer.
I
So
get
when that
it.
membership gets shared, Costco ends up losing money and losing profits.
In a statement, the company writing, Costco is able to keep our prices as low as possible because our membership fees help offset our operational expenses. We don't feel it's right that non-members receive the same benefits and pricing as our members. More than 69 million households have an annual Costco membership.
A lot.
The least expensive at $60 a year lets you add one extra person who lives at the same address.
Costco is able to give members deep discounts on products because they know, based on their purchasing profile, what they're going to buy weekly or monthly. It becomes a numbers game, and those numbers get completely skewed because there are multiple people using that membership.
All right. So back in the day, they used to give Costco cards without a picture on it. Okay. Now, I'm talking about back in the day. So this is probably when I had my first kid, my daughter. I lived in Sacramento, and my friend Jen, who lived up there, she's like, I have a Costco card. I have an extra one. And she's like, you could use it, and it doesn't have a picture on it. And so I'd go there, and I'm going to tell you the truth. I only bought diapers. I really only went there and I bought diapers and I left. That's the only reason why I really went to Costco, because I like Costco prices and selection. I don't like being in Costco very much. Every time I'm in there, I get a little overwhelmed, and then I spend too much money. Last time I went to Costco with my husband and the kids, we spent way too much money. I get overwhelmed. I'm just like, buy it. Yeah, it's fine. It's great. So, but we are going to go to Costco. So anybody been to the Costco in Hawaii and have recommendations for what I need to get? Because I'm obviously getting the booze. I've heard they have, and a reminder, I don't have a kitchen. I'm staying at a hotel, so I'm not staying at a house.
We have
so
a little fridge.
I really wanted to, what?
We have a little
mini
fridge.
one, like a hotel fridge.
I would get Hawaiian drinks. Get the Aloha drinks. So it's like Pog and guava. They'll have like a little mixed thing.
Oh, Pog. I've heard of Pog.
That's passion orange guava juice. But so they have there's Aloha drinks, and they look like they're in a soda can, but it's juice. It's fruit juice usually. There's lily koi flavor and Pog flavor, and we always get those in Hawaii. I like those.
Okay, but what about food? Because I'm not much of a juice drinker. I'll probably maybe pick, but if I'm going to Costco, am I going to buy a flat of this juice?
You're not staying you're at a condo kind of, but you're also in a resort area. So for if I go to Maui, I'm usually staying in a house, right? I'll rent a house.
Right.
So that's different for me. I need lots of stuff, right? I need to go to the store and buy things. But for you don't need everything. So I might just get, if they don't have a free breakfast thing, I might get some snacks and breakfast stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was also
and then you're probably going to go out to lunch. You're probably, or maybe you go back to the room, I don't know, and have whatever. But I think fresh fruit is going to be great at your hotel, but if you want to buy some fresh fruit, I would do it from a stand. So I don't know if I'd buy that at Costco.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, but fresh fruit for breakfast is amazing at Costco. I might, not in Maui, not at Costco, but I might get some English muffins or some breakfast stuff, and then have lunch out and dinners out, and then just have snacks in the room.
Yeah, snacks. That's what I was definitely going to get. Snacks, chips, things like that are going to tide over the kids and me. Because it's always that late night snacking. We're at the hotel. You're not going to spend $40 on French fries again or whatever, because I have checked the menu at this hotel, and I'm like, yeah, that's not happening. But I have so many recommendations from people. just for food. I think
Yeah.
I literally am going to gain like 30 pounds and I'm going to do it happily. So happily. I'm so excited to eat all of the poke. And I'm so excited. No, we do not get free breakfast at the hotel.
And look at the price of renting snorkel gear versus the price of buying it at the hotel. I mean, buying it at Costco.
Really?
So, like, if they're going to charge you $40 to rent a snorkel gear, just a basic snorkel, even without the flippers at the hotel, but you can buy it for $24.99 at Costco, it might be worth just buying it.
Oh, that's obviously. Obviously. And I mean, we could leave it there for the next people, I guess. I don't want to take all that stuff home, you know?
Yeah.
Kay says, I don't go to Costco and don't have a membership. If I need something, I have a friend that will buy it for me and I'll pay her, but I've never needed to use that offer. Good point. My husband and I have a membership now, though.
Do you know you can go into Costco even if you're not a member and go to the pharmacy and buy
I did
stuff
not
in the
know that. I
pharmacy?
heard that you can also buy alcohol if you don't have a membership.
Know that.
I didn't know that. I don't know if that's exactly. Somebody told me that. They're like, yeah, you can go and buy alcohol, but without a membership. I was like, well, that's in Costco. I mean, would they ask you at the door and like, no, I'm just here to buy alcohol? That doesn't make any sense.
You know what they also have at Costco? They have flowers and they have lays.
Oh, yeah.
So if you wanted a lay.
Don't they lay me on Hawaiian Airlines? We're taking Hawaiian Airlines.
No, not unless you pay for that service.
Oh, F that. Really?
There's no one with a sign that says the Medoro family waiting with lays at the airport. No. I'm sorry.
I thought that when I got on the plane, I got laid.
No.
Well, that's disappointing.
You'll get your Aloha drink, though. They have great Aloha drinks.
Yeah, my friend was telling me like a guava mimosa or something like that. So definitely going to be doing that.
Yeah.
Costco and Hawaii equals get those wooden jewelry and watches. Okay. Well, we'll see what I get. I'll be doing little videos or live things or something. So keep it tuned to the YouTube channel. I don't know when I'm going to be putting them up because I will be on Hawaii time, but they will definitely be there. I want to show you this picture. Speaking of vacations, did you see this? Where is it? That, my friends, is the line into Lake Tahoe. Now, this was during
where Mark is right now.
This was during Juneteenth, but they're saying traffic is just bad, and they're expecting it to be just as bad for this holiday weekend. Yeah, I wonder if he is stuck in it. So there's obviously been a bunch of problems. People wanting to go to Yosemite, of course. Tioga Road and Glacier Point Road have been closed because of snow. There's still a bunch of road closures because of all of that. And then I think, honestly, it's just people want to be there. And they also have their reservation system as well, I believe. I believe I'm right on that there's no more reservations. Yeah, there's no more reservations. So, yeah, they were saying traffic conditions are being posted on Facebook and Instagram. For instance, on June 25th, a park employee posted that Curry Village parking was full by 8:45 in the morning. Yosemite Village parking was full by 9. All of Yosemite Valley parking was full by 9:30. So talk about having to wake up early on your vacation. I don't know. I mean, I think Yosemite is absolutely gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. It is good. It is not worth sitting in that traffic, in my opinion. It's just not. It's too many people anyway. It's like, it's going to be so crowded. Although Groveland's a really cute town and they can use the business because of all the bad weather, they have it's been really down on business. So if you can help the local businesses in Groveland, I would do that. You know what I'm not going to do on my vacation, Kim, even though you do know I love my cocktails, and I do. I'm not going to do what this guy in Jamaica did, and I'm not making fun of him because he died. A British man vacationing in Jamaica died after trying to drink 21 cocktails on a bar's menu. He was a 53-year-old man by the name of Timothy Southern, and he was on vacation in St. Anne, Jamaica. Now, not blaming women, and I'm not blaming, that machismo type of thing, but the guy had already been drinking when he saw a couple of women at a bar trying to complete a 21 drink challenge to celebrate a birthday. So what does he say? I'll try it with you. He had 12 drinks before returning to his room, where he later died.
Oh my God. They must have been really strong drinks.
Yeah. So, well, his family has since criticized the medical treatment he received when they first realized he was ill. A family member says he was on his back choking. I put him in the recovery position and screamed for an ambulance. He was making a gurgling sound. As soon as he was in the recovery position, he vomited. I was shouting his name with no response. When the nurse arrived, I asked, had an ambulance been called? And she said, no. I thought she'd take over, but that was not the case. I noticed he was starting to lose temperature. I checked his pulse. I couldn't find it. The nurse reportedly told the family member that Southern still did have a pulse, and the family member started to lose it over the witnessing the treatment. The family member said, I got a full look at his face, and I thought he had passed away. I said, don't just sit there looking at him. Start CPR. She started CPR. Maybe if she had known what she was doing, he'd still be here. The service treatment he received was disgusting. He died from acute gastroenteritis due to alcohol consumption.
How sad.
I know,
I mean,
man.
stupid and sad at the same time.
It's one of those things where, well, yeah, Natalie, great point. How is that bar not being sued? A 21 drink challenge? That's dangerous. You shouldn't be drinking 21 drinks. Now, I wonder, is it everybody in your group? Because there's a line in this that says, hold on, that he joined the women and managed to have 12 drinks. So I don't know if he joined them in drinking the 21 drinks or if he just joined them in trying the challenge and all of them tried to do it. But still, 12 drinks is too many. And who knows how much alcohol they're putting in it, because I wonder what the prize was. And Jim, with the callback, did he try drinking around the world at Epcot? Yeah. It's sad, but I'm going to try to pace myself, especially because apparently I have to wake up at the butt crack of dawn to get the
Those Mai Tais can be pretty strong.
I'm not much of a Mai Tai drinker.
Well,
but I know when in Hawaii, you should probably drink the drinks, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it it's that monkey pod,
Monkey Pod, get a Mai Tai at the Monkey Pod.
has the Mai Tais, right?
Yeah.
A number of people have recommended those to me. It looks like they have like whipped cream on the top of it or something like that. I don't know. It looks really pretty and yummy.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely get one of those. I'll have a picture or a video with that.
I like the blue Hawaiian, the blended blue Hawaiian.
What's in that?
Is my go-to. It's like blue curacao, vodka. And then I also it's one of the few times I'll drink a mixed drink. I like the lava flow.
And what's that?
It's a frou-frou blended.
I'm looking all these up. Okay, so let's see.
Yeah.
It's a tropical drink made with rum, strawberries, pineapple, and coconut cream. Ooh, that sounds yummy. And then the blue Hawaiian, blue curacao, sweet and sour mix, and sometimes vodka, rum, and pineapple juice.
I like it mine blended, so it's kind of icy, like a blue
you're
slush.
a pain in the ass at the bar. That's what you're saying.
That's right. That's what I am. Yes.
Yeah, Murphy agrees with you. Lava flow for the win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rum and Pog make a good cheap drink. See, that's my thing. Like I know I'm going to be spending an arm and a leg on this trip. I just have to let it go. The cheapskate in me is going to just have to stay home.
Yeah. The cheapskate has to check out.
Yeah. It is going to be very hard for me. So here's the thing is like, I'm so cheap. And my brother, so it's my brother's family and my family going, right? And my brother's family has 5 people and my family has 4 people. And so obviously we can't split the check, but it's not that I don't want to split the check because I'm a cheapskate. My family my children especially, they eat like birds. Yeah. He has like children that eat just as much as adults do. So I'm like, they could, I know my kids are the pickiest of eaters. So I'm going to hope to kind of navigate that.
My son orders the most expensive stuff. He's now discovered that he likes oysters.
Oh, that's fabulous. They are barbecued oysters, not raw for me.
He always wants to try the interesting things on the menu, Jacob. So, yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, an adventurous palate is cool.
That's great. It's expensive and great.
My daughter's like, I'm going to have steak every night. I'm like, no, you will not, because it's very expensive. I want her to I'm trying to build her up and like try the fruits, try the different fishes, just give it a shot. Don't just eat burgers and chicken the whole time, even though I want to try the chicken too. And all, the musubis and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
I just want her to expand her palate, and I'm hoping her cousin / best friend will be able to entice her to do that. Okay, so Kim's going to do a couple more headlines, and then we come back. We have some lighter stories ahead. I want to get into this with you. Vanna White. So remember, a couple days ago, we were talking about Ryan Seacrest, laziest hire ever. Oh my God. I think Vanna White might be talking herself straight out of her job. And I'm so
Oh.
disappointed for her, but I think it's going to happen. And then another Airbnb that you might want to check out this month. That's all coming up after Kim's news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
So, looking at a story today, a sad story. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s last sibling has died. The King Center said Dr. Christine King Ferris died peacefully this morning with her family by her side in Atlanta. She was 95 years old, and she was the first child to Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. and Alberta Christine Williams King. Now, she was, again, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s last living sibling, and she has passed away. Again, something we've been talking about today, colleges and universities will not be able to use race as a factor in their admissions decisions. That coming after the Supreme Court today ruled in favor of challenges to affirmative action programs at Harvard and the University of North Carolina. They said universities' admissions policies were unconstitutional. The Supreme Court, though, also expected to hand down decisions on cases involving student loan relief and LGBTQ rights tomorrow. 2 of the 3 remaining cases that the court has to decide this term involve President Biden's plan to cancel some student loan debt. The ruling expected to decide if Biden can move forward with that plan or not. Millions of Americans may be impacted by unhealthy air quality because of smoke from Canadian wildfires. 23 states under air quality alerts from the Midwest to the Northeast. And the flight issues still continue parts of the country for the holiday weekend as it approaches. More than 3,400 flights now have been canceled or delayed. That is today alone. A commonly used artificial sweetener is expected to be declared a possible cancer causer by the World Health Organization. That according to Reuters, which cited 2 sources with knowledge of this process. Aspartame is used in a variety of products, including Diet Coke, some sodas, some Snapple drinks, extra chewing gum. Aspartame's in a lot. And again, the World Health Organization is going to expected to cause it, aspartame, to declare it a possible cancer causer. You know, Overstock.com, not sure if you've ever shopped on that website. I've gone there a couple times. They're going to change their name. And you might already know the name that they're switching to. So instead of Overstock.com, they'll be Bed Bath & Beyond. That's right. The change follows a judge's approval of Overstock's purchase of the bankrupt brand's name, domain, and loyalty program assets earlier this week. They paid more than $21 million. It does not include the brick and mortar stores, most of which have already closed and or are closing. They call it significant transformative steps, this acquisition. And the shares of Overstock jumped more than 15% after the news on Thursday trading. The first to see the change, shoppers in Canada, where Overstock plans to relaunch that country's website with a new look and then follow weeks later with a new shopping experience using the Bed Bath & Beyond branding in the United States. So we can look forward to that. I wish I had video of this, Nikki. This is a 13-year-old Australian girl. She's the first female skateboarder to pull off a Tony Hawk 720 in competition. It's a big deal, and it's super cool that it happened for this 13-year-old girl. She did it in front of the skateboarding pioneer himself. Arissa True landed 2 airborne rotations in winning the women's competition at Hawks Vert Alert last weekend in Salt Lake City. True's coach, Trevor Ward, said the teen hopes to qualify for the skateboarding competition at the 2024 Olympics in Paris. So she does the Tony Hawk 720. It's 2 vertical rotations.
Everything these athletes have. This is the end of the ride, and they're going to give it all. Yeah!
Okay, watch it in slow-mo. 1, 2, and there you landed, and she didn't fall. There you go.
13 years old, and Tony Hawk was watching her pull it off.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Congratulations. That is awesome.
13-year-old girl from Australia. Her name is Arissa True. So that's great.
That's
Thank you for
awesome.
getting that video. The first projections are in for two huge blockbuster films hitting theaters in July. Greta Gerwig's Barbie is
Yeah.
expected to make between $70 and $80 million in its first weekend alone. Meantime, Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, which I've heard is really hard to watch.
Yeah, but I've heard it's good too. I heard it's
expected
disturbing,
to
but
make
yeah.
$40 million in its debut at North American theaters. So,
All right.
a couple wacky stories for you as well. There is a handbag that is almost too small to even see, and it went up for auction yesterday, and it got a really big price. The fluorescent yellowish green bag sold for more than $63,000 in an online auction. It is based on the popular Louis Vuitton design, but it is not made by Louis Vuitton. It is the work of New York Art Collective, a group that calls the creation microscopic handbag. It measures less than 3/100 of an inch wide and narrow enough to pass through the eye of a needle, and it's smaller than a grain of sand.
Why?
Somebody paid $63,000 for something you can't even see.
What? Why did they even make it? Why did they even make it? It's not art. If I can flick it away like a booger, then it's not art. Sorry. I'm not trying to be anti-art, but that's bull. I'm sorry. That's a scam. You're being scammed. And whoever paid it is a moron. I feel strongly about this. It's a waste of money. See, this is the problem with money.
Yeah, no. You are going on a vacation where you're going to spend.
Ugh, it's killing me, but yes.
My husband's grandma Julia, for whom my daughter Julia is named, used to say, if you can't, she'd say this when people worry about what they're going to order and how much dinner is going to cost.
Right.
She'd say, if you can't afford what you really want, then you can't afford to go to dinner. Just eat at home.
Yeah.
If you can't afford to buy what you want, then don't go. That was her thing. If you're going to go do it, then buy it.
Just
right?
do it. Yes, exactly.
Well, one lucky traveler is actually making money on vacation instead of spending money.
Oh, how? Tell me.
This lucky traveler won more than $1 million on an airport slot machine in Las Vegas. The traveler was playing the slots while waiting for their flight Tuesday. The winner hit a jackpot totaling more than $1.3 million. Harry Reid International Airport has more than 1,400 slot machines for Vegas visitors to take one last shot at winning before they have to head home. So getaway day for that traveler was quite lucrative.
Wow. Congrats.
Yeah.
That's what I always want. That's what everybody always dreams of when they're sitting at those airport slot machines, you know?
I'm Kim McAllister, and this is the Nikki Medoro Show.
Thank you, Kim. Now, I am not one to bag on successful women. Okay, I'm not. I might not agree with some women that are in the public eye, and that's my prerogative. But, you know, you put the work in, you should get the payday, in my opinion. But sadly, I think that Vanna White is going to talk herself right out of a job. So she has filed she is reportedly, through her agents or whatever, demanding that she make at least half of what Pat Sajak has been making. You will remember that Wheel of Fortune is hiring Ryan Seacrest for what, $28 million? Pat Sajak was making $15 million a year, and Vanna White was only making $3 million a year. Now, apparently, she was happy with all that, right? I mean, she obviously agreed to it. In 18 years, she's never gotten a raise. This is an old picture of him. But, you know, she's been with Wheel of Fortune. She is introduced as the stars. When they say the stars of Wheel of Fortune, they say Pat Sajak and Vanna White. So the billing is the same. Now, I will say, and this is them in more recent years, I mean, she still looks fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say Pat Sajak obviously had more to do than Vanna White did, you know, interacting with the guests and hosting the show and all that. So I think that she justified it of getting less salary. I think there could have been a little bit closer.
I think it should have been a little closer too. It's a pain in
Right.
the ass to go into makeup and hair and get
And have to
yourself
stay skinny.
shove yourself into a little dress, a sequined gown, and high heels every day, and get gussied up and have a smile on your face and do the whole thing. I think that's doing. I mean, you might think it doesn't take a lot of brains to do it, but it's going in to do the same thing over and over and over. And I don't know. Maybe she didn't have to talk and say, "Where are you from? What are you doing?" You know.
No.
But
Yeah.
I think she should have been paid as more commensurate with
She
him.
is just as iconic as Pat Sajak.
Right.
She's
Right.
she has just as much name recognition as Pat
Mhm.
Sajak. Now, do I think that after 41 years with a company, there would be some loyalty? You'd think, but I bet you, I'm going to say it today, they're not going to renew her contract because her contract's up next year. This is not the time she should have done this. What are they going to do? You want to know what they're going to do? There's not going to be anyone turning the damn letters. That's what's going to happen. They're going to go T, and they're going to look up, and the damn machine is going to do it for you.
AI Vanna will take it on. Yes.
There doesn't even need to be an AI. I mean, really, Vanna White. Look, people, we didn't need Vanna White. Vanna White comes from an era, and then they kept it. Like, it's not as if, and I don't want to knock her. I'm not meaning to be critical, but she's not. You don't need somebody to spin the letters or press the button because now it's not even spinning it. She just presses it. She taps it. You don't think that somebody out there with a remote control can be like, think, or they can program it or the computer?
Window dressing for the show. She was, in her beautiful gowns, and everyone
I don't
used
think
to
it
wonder,
carries as much weight anymore, though.
what's Vanna wearing today? I don't think
Nobody
anybody
gives
cares
a crap,
anymore.
Kim.
No.
Nobody cares. It's
Mm-mm.
not water cooler talk. It's not the only thing on TV. No one's tuning in. And I love Vanna White. I mean, again, she's iconic. She is talking herself straight out of a gig because now Sony and Wheel of Fortune is just like, we just decided not to renew our contract. We're trying to revamp the whole entire show. We
Right.
thank Vanna White for her 40 plus years of service. Thank you and goodbye. And don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out. And that is what is going to happen. I'm sorry, Vanna. You are not going to keep this job if you want to pay raise.
And
It's
as
just not gonna happen.
Vilmos wrote, she said she's made good money and she'll feel no pain. So she's
And
right.
then
I mean,
I mean, I don't think that now was, and it sucks to say, right? Because she deserves it. But she deserved it 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
She deserved it when they renewed their contracts, however long ago. You go 18 years without ever asking for a raise, and now they're revamping the show, and you're gonna bring it up now? No, they're going to say, we've decided not to renew your contract, and they would be justified in doing so. It's not like they're canceling her contract either. It sucks, but I didn't know that. She sells Murphy says she sells a pretty good line of cheap yarn for knitting and crocheting called Vanna's Choice. Yeah, because that's going to bring in the youngsters. Because you know what's going to bring it. Well, although you know what, I kind of take that back. Crocheting is really big.
Yeah.
With like 20 somethings and everything. They're really in all of that. So maybe, but I think they're into it with people, sadly, that look like them, dress like them, things like that. And I feel for her, but I think we're not going to have Ryan Seacrest and Vanna White.
I'm not a big wheel watcher, but do you feel like that show would be less than if they didn't have a letter flipper?
Nobody cares. No, I don't think. I think that people will tune in because they want to see how Ryan Seacrest does. And if Vanna White's not there, Vanna White's not there.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not like Ryan Seacrest can't handle things on his own.
I mean, again, and I'm not trying to knock on Vanna, but we're not talking about brain surgery here. She came with that time when Wheel of Fortune was at its peak, right? I mean, it was just what you were saying. Vanna White was younger. She wore these amazing gowns. People loved to watch it. There wasn't a lot of competition. It was a fun game show to play with your family. Now it's one of 100 million things to watch on television. They're revamping the show. They're going to keep Vanna, who's now asking for millions of dollars more when we're paying Ryan Seacrest $10 million plus more than we were paying Pat Sajak. No, they're not planning on keeping Vanna.
Would you rather them, if they don't renew her contract, would you rather them just say we're going to an electronic type of letter flipping
that's
formula,
what they're going to do. Yes.
Or would you rather them hire somebody who's like 20 years old who can grow with the new show?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be around for very much longer. I mean, it's totally ageist. I mean, but it's what happens all of the time, right?
Yeah.
Wes says, I don't think they'll get rid of her because it's too many changes to the show at once. I'm laughing because nobody, in my opinion, Wes,
Yeah.
cares.
No,
Like
that's when you
nobody's
make
like,
the changes.
how could they change Wheel of Fortune? Nobody cares. So I think the most interesting thing that's happened to Wheel is the fact that Pat Sajak's leaving and Ryan Seacrest is coming in. I don't think that they would care if they got rid of or replaced or did whatever with Vanna White. Sadly, I just don't think so.
Randy says when Vanna started on the wheel, they actually needed
Oh,
someone
they
to flip the
did.
letters.
That's how it worked. They
Now
didn't have
she
the
just
technology.
taps it and it turns a color. Right?
And that was a big deal when it happened. I don't know if you guys remember, but I remember it was just like, she's not turning them. She's just tapping them. And I think there was a debate of, do we need somebody to do that? But it was Vanna White, and you don't get rid of Vanna White. But now Pat's gone. So why not get rid of Vanna? Natalie says, not personal against her, but even as a kid or a teenager, I didn't understand why they needed a glamorous sidekick to turn letters. I thought it was degrading to women. Interesting. I mean, a $3 million a year job for doing that, I'd sign up. You want me to sit there and look pretty and walk across the stage 50 times, tapping letters? Done. Are you kidding me right now? Yeah, done. Vilma says, I'm with Nikki. Wheel of Fortune is boring, and sometimes the contestants get the saying when one letter is displayed. Yeah, that's really good. I don't know. I mean, it's a game show that I don't mind if it's on. It's not like I'm like, oh, turn this off. It's so boring. But it's not enough to keep Vanna for more than $3 million.
Though that era when, and they might still have this on The Price is Right. Remember when they had like the showgirls where they would open up the curtain and
they still do.
You can get a new car, and there was a woman in a scantily clad like,
here's a toaster, or it was like a donkey, like wah wah.
Yeah. And so that's kind of the whole, era where you needed to have these gorgeous women hanging out in the background, pointing at things like window dressing on the show to make it sparkly.
That was the era.
Yeah.
What else were we good for, Kim, except obviously to stand there and look pretty and point out appliances you can get for your house.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course. We know what it is, but she was of that era, and I'm not knocking her. Make your money. I'm just saying, hopefully she has some good investments, which I'm sure she does. She's had an amazing career. They've gone to all these fun places doing the Wheel of Fortune episodes, but no, she is pushing it. Sadly, I think she deserves the money, but Sony's going to say, no, we're just not going to renew you. And there, we saved $3 million. We're already spending 28. We're already spending more on a host. So, and she should have a better agent. How the hell do you go 18 years without asking for a friggin' raise? Right? Like, who is your agent, Vanna?
Wes wants to know if they replaced the models on The Price is Right when Bob Barker
retired.
I think
that they still are. I mean, but there's men too now. So it's kind of equal opportunity exploitation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Models. I think there's men and women now. I know there's men and women.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. The show has 6 permanent. This is Wikipedia. So let's see. Price is Right models. I'm almost positive that they still have them, but maybe not. I thought that they did. I could be wrong. I don't know.
I don't remember seeing dudes. Not that I wouldn't like seeing dudes on the show.
I'm almost. I thought that I read.
Here, Kim, is your new car.
Yeah. Like da 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 da. Boom, boom. Yeah. So let's see. This article is from 2021, and it says Rachel Reynolds has been a Price is Right model for almost 20 years. Yeah, and that's with Drew Carey. So,
yeah, I think job to have just standing around at pointing at stuff.
Well, I think that it's a stepping stone. I think they use it as a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Vilma says, "Give me Family Feud if I have to." Oh, hands down, Family Feud is hands down my favorite. I want my family, like my side with my husband, but my parents and brother on Family Feud. Nothing against my husband's family. I love you guys, but my family would just be honestly hilarious and loud. The problem is, the reason I cannot, and I've told her this before, I cannot bring my mother on The Prices or on Family Feud, even though I would want to, is she is incapable of doing this. Good answer. Good answer. If you give a terrible answer, my mom will be like, what kind of answer is that? Like, she would be incapable of lying, or she would fake it and we would all know, like everybody and their mother would know that she's lying. She'd be
that's
like, yeah,
good.
Good answer. Good answer. I don't think my mom would be able to lie like that. But if we got on it, we could practice, I guess. I guess we could. I want to be on. I told you, it's on my bucket list. I want to be on a game show before I die.
My family is more of at least my sister. We have some athletes on my sister's side of the family. And we're looking like at the Amazing Race, that type of thing.
Right.
Like, could they do well in the
No.
Amazing Race? Yes.
No.
I think
Yeah.
I've got some family members that could really kill it.
I had a coworker that said that me and my husband would be great on the Amazing Race, except I know me. So my husband, like, we would be entertaining, and I think we could do semi good. But I am a stress case. Like, I am not somebody that you want in time crunching. I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to get angry. I'm going to cuss you out. I'm going to be a pain in the ass. I'm going to be tired. My feet are going to, I am one of those people. I know myself. See,
Yeah.
I know myself. I could stand there, answer questions from 100 Americans on Family Feud, running around, trying to catch a thing. Nobody speaks English, in the water, climbing a mountain. No, that is not me. And that is not fun. So I know myself. You might want to bring me and I'll be out like the first day and you could just laugh at me, but no, that's not
I think I'd be good at the being resourceful, like your reporter skills. You're being resourceful, like how to find the best flights, how to find the best information, how to get the money together that you need.
I'd have one good day.
I'd be awesome at everything except the athletic challenges, which means I would lose the game. But
the
if
whole racing part,
if I went with somebody that could climb the mountains,
you have to go with them. You can't just be all, I'll wait for you
I'll be down here. Find me at the lodge with the Irish coffee.
Yeah, I was having the Mai Tais and everything. Like, oh, how'd it go, honey? Really good.
I'll be here looking up the flights. It's okay.
No, and no, exactly. I wouldn't be able to do it. And I want to be on something that would be fun and I wouldn't look like a total pain in the ass. Like, I love Survivor, but no, it's just, it's not fun to me. The money seems intriguing, but no. Okay. I didn't get to it today, so I'm going to save it for tomorrow. I do want to talk about the possible collapse of Airbnb. Well, it's not possible. It is. A lot of these markets where people bought homes solely as Airbnbs, they're not doing well. And obviously they peaked during COVID. People wanted to travel to all these areas. They're like, I got a home there. So what does that mean? And are you an Airbnb landlord? Are you worried about it? I know California usually is on the bottom of the bad news regarding Airbnb because we're California and people want to come here, but not every place in California and definitely not every place in the United States. So we'll talk about that. It's a Friday food. I actually have a video that I was going to send Kim and I totally forgot about. I blew out my palette. So I'll share that video because it's kind of pretty funny. I don't know if I'm going to make something because I already did that one, but we'll see.
You blew out your palette?
I did. It was bad. It was.
What does that mean?
It was too spicy.
Oh,
so I couldn't. I'm gonna just tease you. I had a physical reaction. Let's just say this, more than just hot in my mouth. It was. I'll share that story tomorrow during Friday food. I love my spicy food. You guys know it, but this was a bit too far. So we'll have that tomorrow, Friday food. Tim Sika with the movies, a bunch of stuff. And we do have another Supreme Court ruling that we're waiting for that will be handed down tomorrow as well. So click that thumbs up button. We love you guys. We want to continue to do the show. A big thank you to people that donated to our super chat. Rick, Wes, and Jim, all with a $5 donation. And remember, you guys can donate even if you're watching it in replay, which I know so many of you are. And please consider joining our cool club, the Medorables. Go to thenikkimedoroshow.com and please become a monthly Patreon subscriber. It's growing and we want to continue to do this show. And the only way we can is if we get the sponsors and the members. So we appreciate you. We love you. All the links are there to share. And we will talk again tomorrow. Have a fabulous day. Bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. Miss Brown, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.